Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Nate Boyer on the line, and he is a co-founder over at 8 Primal and also the Merging Vets and Players Foundation, and he's also a director and producer of a D-Day 80th Anniversary documentary. And this episode, I should say, is part of our National Social Media Awards series, where we bring you the best of those that are attending and part of the National Social Media Awards, and we highlight influencers. We highlight people in social media that are doing great work, which is why Nate was chosen for this interview. And for those of you that are not familiar with the National Social Media Awards, it's taking place on June 7th. That's going to be in Hollywood, California. Again, June 7th in Hollywood, California. And to grab tickets, I will be there. So love to meet you in person. To grab tickets, you go to nationalsocialmediaawards.com. And Nate, welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
All right, so lots to talk about here today. Of course, I want to get into what you're doing, 8 Primal and Merging Vets and Players, and then I got to hear about this documentary. But first, let's go back in time a bit here. I know you're a filmmaker. Were you always into film or social media? Like, where did this whole content creation journey start for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of people, grew up with those certain movies or shows or whatever it was, pieces of content that you really loved and kind of gravitated towards. Maybe you rewatched a bunch of times, or you learned about a story, you learned about something through a film. And so I was always kind of enamored by that. And I was interested, even at 19, in getting involved in the industry. And then I moved up to Los Angeles and I took some acting classes and was kind of bumming around, just trying to figure it out. And then 9/11 happened, and that ended up leading me to the military. So, I served in the Army for about 10 years. I was in the Army Special Forces. I was a Green Beret. And after that, went to college at the University of Texas and played football there for about 4 years, and then played with the Seahawks for a short time. And then I was 34 years old, and I got released from Seattle, and I didn't really know what I was going to do next, but I still had that interest sort of lingering from 15 years before of the storytelling. And so I moved back down to Los Angeles and finished up my master's degree by doing an internship at the production company and started down that path of doing some acting, doing some hosting, eventually writing, and then into the world of making movies.
Man, what was that like when you finally decided, you know what, I've done, because you had a lot of experiences, obviously in the military, you played professional, football, like all this, and then you're like, you know what, I'm going to go do this. What was that like?
I mean, it was great. I was definitely fortunate to have all those experiences to draw from, whether you're acting or you're writing or whatever. But when you had all that life experience, I think that really helps in anything that you're doing. So that was good and a certain matter of perspective. But I really gravitated towards the challenge of it. I think that was a big part. It's a very competitive industry, of course, and it's hard to make movies. It's hard to make anything and, kind of see it through and get people to watch it, and find the interesting stories. And it's like a military operation in some ways, of course, more like a training operation, not like nobody's shooting at you, but you got all these different departments and you got to work together to see it through and complete the mission. And every day Murphy's Law bites you in the butt, something happens and you got to figure it out, So I think that was something that really I was able to draw from, but also really pushed me in that direction. It was chasing down another challenge, finding another way to use the skills that I was taught and go and also tell stories that I thought I may have a different viewpoint of or experience in to help with the accuracy and whatnot.
Let's get into this film. What inspired this and how did this come about? So D-Day 80th Anniversary documentary. What inspired making this?
Yeah, so I made my first narrative film, not a documentary. I made a movie called MVP about the nonprofit that we started, and we shot that during COVID in 2020, and then it came out in 2022 in theaters, and then it was licensed by Paramount Plus for a couple of years, and now it's on Netflix, and so it had a pretty good run, even though we were on such a low budget. It ended up making more money than we made it for, which is always a win.
That's a win. On your first film, that's a win.
Yeah, it's a big win. And then critically, it did pretty well. Critics seemed to enjoy it, and audiences did, but especially the veteran and athlete community, they really enjoyed it because it was kind of part of their story, and they really felt that was important. And so that helped me with the confidence to think that I could take on something like this and try to help tell the story of these. Some of them are 106 years old, these veterans who fought on the D-Day and really ultimately saved the world. And so tracking these guys down and hearing from them one last time before they passed, I thought was super important. And it was the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Went out there my first time to Normandy to see the place and meet some of these people. And their stories are, this is it. They're the firsthand accounts. Within 5 years, there won't be any of them left. So I thought it was very important to try and hear from them in their words, through their years, and many of them centurions, of all that they've seen, and also make something that maybe was relatable and attractive to young people, so that they can learn about that and also carry the story forward.
Man, what a great story! What a great story! And you're gonna be out there screening it, right? I know that you're not going to be able to go to the awards for sure because you're going to be out there screening, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be in Normandy. We're going to be out there I'm going to go out there and screen the film. I think the 2nd or 3rd of June, and then the 4th of June, I'm jumping in with the 82nd Airborne, going to parachute in the same drop zones those guys jumped in, like the Band of Brothers did back in World War II. And then there's all these celebrations, and they do on June 6th itself, which is the D-Day anniversary. They do this big celebration throughout all the little towns there. I mean, the people are so grateful. The Normandy people, it's just we were able to do for them, and not we as in me, but I mean our World War II veterans.
Absolutely.
And it's just really cool to capture that.
Well, so you mentioned something about your first film, and that it had a certain resonance because people felt like it was part of their story. Do you find in your storytelling or just the content that you go after, that you enjoy making, do you find that's a theme that's developing?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's. Yeah, I think if you have a connection to it and a resonance within yourself, and you're able to kind of communicate things, or maybe be an audience surrogate for a story that maybe an audience, maybe a certain population of the audience out there, it just isn't going to necessarily relate to or be able to understand, but you understand them, and you also understand the other side of things, whether it's military or otherwise, and you can kind of get in the middle of that and help filter it in a way so that people are able to relate to something they thought they wouldn't have anything in common with. I think that's super important, because that was something that we were able to do with MVP. It wasn't just athletes and veterans. It was other people that were understood some of the struggles these guys were going through. They really felt that, they were like, oh man, I didn't think I would maybe be able to relate, but I totally did. I know what this person is feeling and going through, and maybe I didn't go to war or play in a Super Bowl or anything, but I could see how losing that uniform and losing, having that sense of purpose, and it just being all of a sudden stripped of you when you're quite young can be very challenging. And then they'll think of something in their life that happened that kind of made them into the person they are today, and a way that they can relate. So, I mean, it's maybe more of a challenge in some ways with a documentary about D-Day, and these guys are so old and did something so brave and so incredible that they survived. It's really hard to relate to it, but they're just people at the end of the day. They're just human beings. And when they talk and they're vulnerable, you're like, oh, wow, that could have been me. I could have been in that situation. Maybe I could have done that.
Is there anything that surprised you when you were making that film? I feel like all the filmmakers I talk to, there's always these things that they did not expect. Anything that surprised you can make that film?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the big things was I was just so curious how these guys made it that long. To take World War II out of it, but it's like, how do people live this long? What's the secret? Because
you're right, though.
It's incredible how sharp some of them were, and how they're still walking, 104 years old, walking up on the stage. And
I met one last year. I met one. I sat next to him, and I wish I could remember his name right now. I was flying into DC, and he was being decorated. He was on the plane next to me, and I was like, wait a minute.
Well, you can't remember his name, but he can probably remember yours.
I believe that, and I'm so ashamed that I can't write this moment, but I was thinking to myself, he saw the look that I said, and he's, I'm old, and I'm like, that's not what I meant. He was funny.
That's so funny. And that's who they are, man.
Yeah.
But that's the secret. That's the secret. They're very optimistic. They have a pretty positive attitude. I mean, look, they know at that point in your life, you got to know at any day this could be your last minute, But they're not spending it worried about that. They're just grateful for the years they got to live, and I think that says a lot. I think that's the underlying thing I noticed with all these guys. That's what really surprised me was I was expecting these old curmudgeons who, not just curmudgeons, but people that grew up during the Great Depression and then served in World War II. and then was involved in D-Day, the biggest and largest amphibious invasion in world history, where so many sacrifices, so many sacrifices were made and so many didn't make it back. They made it through all that, and then to go through some good times and then into the civil rights movement and all these other, the divisiveness of today and so many tough things that America has gone through.
Can you imagine going from there to now AI? I can't even imagine.
No.
Like just, or driverless cars, like in their lifetime, right? Now we got Waymo, like just to witness, like, is that car driving itself? Like, I remember when cars were first,
when they were born, there was no cars when they were born.
That's what I mean.
They're lighting gas lamps. Like, it's crazy, such a different time. So like that, yeah, that's one of those things.
Do you think, and I'm curious about like on the longevity part, and this is totally projecting. If it came out in the movie, I'm not trying to spoil it or anything like that. It's it's a question that I've had in my head before. Is I feel, do you think like being part of that club to have those people that are on the earth that, like, you know what I mean, like that is help them in their longevity? Like, do you think like that brotherhood?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they felt a sense of purpose, and they felt, I think, living the rest of your life realizing that you were a part of something extremely important. If you and the 16 million other Americans who served in World War II, if you hadn't done what you did, then west of the Mississippi would be the Empire of Japan, and east of the Mississippi would be Nazi Germany. Like, just in the American perspective, it's so interesting to think. And people forget, and it's okay. It's not their fault. But we're here to remind them how important that was, and that you need to continue to stand up for what's right. And you may be called upon to do this again at some point. And we need young men and women that are willing to do that, to protect us if it gets to that point. And some of these guys think we may be heading that direction pretty soon. So I'm going to listen to them because they've been through it.
Nate, this has been great having you on, man. I really appreciate your work and what you're doing, and I'm a big fan of people that don't forget their history, and then you're reforming, and then you're creating something new out of it so that, the next generations can be reintroduced to it and things like that. So I'm a big fan of it. So if somebody wants to watch the film, follow your organization, follow the nonprofit, any of that, how do they connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, on social media, I'm at Nate Boyer 37. 37 was my college football number. That's why it's 37. But at Nate Boyer 37 on socials, you can connect with me there and share stuff. But as far as the D-Day doc, we're still a bit of ways. I'm going to screen a portion of it in Normandy. We're finishing it up right now, and hopefully it'll be out and released, closer to the end of the year, maybe around Veterans Day, which would make a lot of sense. But beyond that, I encourage people to go watch MVP. I would ask you, Adam, I see that you're a film critic yourself. I would challenge you to go on Netflix, watch MVP, and critique it, write a review. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts either way. And people to see MVP, it's about the genesis of Merging Vets and Players, the nonprofit that I co-founded that brings together vets and athletes and helps them find purpose and identity. So vetsandplayers.org is that website. And MVP the movie is streaming on Netflix now.
Fantastic. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so that you can click on the links and head right on over and connect with Nate. And of course, go check out those movies. So MVP on Netflix, that's awesome. And man, Nate, I'm just so happy to hear. First time filmmaker making your first one and getting it picked up, man, that's great. I love stories like that. It's very, very inspiring. And to the audience, again, go check out Nate's work. And if this is your first time with us at Mission Matters, hit that subscribe or follow. This is a daily show. You heard me right. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully some more inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow. And Nate, keep up the great work, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. It means a lot.